Hey, Chris Mueller for Riverside Real Estate Success. And I got to say, I'm very excited about today's interview. It's somebody I've been looking forward to talking to for a while because, Clint brings this tremendous experience from a collegiate athlete to a craftsman and to now a top producing realtor in the Riverside marketplace. So I am very excited to introduce you to Clint Bozner. So Clint, hey, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah, man. It's always kind of fun to get to talk to people. I have to say, one of the things that I thought, man, I want to talk to this guy is just seeing your Facebook presence. Mm-hmm. It's really clear that you're having a lot of fun.
I would say so.
Okay, so tell me about this. You're an avid outdoorsman, from what I can tell.
Yeah. My family, we grew up in kind of like my dad's from Wyoming.
Okay,
so they do a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing, outdoor stuff. So
yeah,
kind of been growing up with it.
Yeah, I love to see it. I was talking with one of the people in the office, about the interview that was coming up, and we're scrolling through some of your pictures, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's another one, and so fishing and hunting, and it's just not something you run into here. It's not the culture in Southern California as much as it is, say, in Wyoming. So
yeah. It's harder to find. I did a lot of duck hunting this year in Lake Paris. Mm-hmm. My family has a club out there, and also do a lot of ocean fishing in the San Diego area.
Okay.
So
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I alluded to this in the intro, but you've got a unique background. I don't know if you can tell from the camera shot here, Clint. You're a little hunched over, but I look like a child compared to Clint. You're a massive guy. If I was going to go to your Facebook right now, I would see you just I would say harshly dunking over somebody.
Yeah.
So tell me about that background in athletics.
I started playing basketball at the time I was. I was like third grade almost.
Okay.
And got a Division I scholarship to University of California, Davis. Played a little bit up there. That dunk was, I think it was actually the dunk of the month for November on, 2013. It's been a while since I've played, but I just went up there, got my education, and kind of took those experiences forward.
Yeah. Now, when you went to college, we talked about this a little bit before, but your background was, you said, American Studies and biomedical. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and what was the thought process there?
So I actually I transferred in to Davis from a junior college, just gaining a little more experience, and then transferring in, I was going to do biology, but I only transferred with enough credits to do this American Studies major. Mm-hmm. So I liked it. It was a kind of cool major because you kind of get to make your own major right there with it. And I minored in pre-biomedical to kind of. My dad's one of the top optometrists in Riverside County. All right. So he wanted me kind of go that way, but my family also owns a real estate brokerage too. So kind of decided that wasn't really my path.
Okay, so you had the choice of two family businesses. It could either be the medical field or it could be real estate sales.
Yeah.
And in some respects, people don't realize this about doctors, but doctors are salespeople, right?
True, yeah. Especially optometry because you have the eyeglasses. And my dad jokes a little bit because sometimes I go in on my day off to help him. Yeah. And he has this new photo package that gives the thing on the back of the eye, and he usually gets one sale a day, and I went in and helped him, and I got 17 out of 17 patients to buy the photo thing. So he's like, "You got to come work for me." I was like, "No."
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I had this discussion with my daughter the other day, and I said, what's the difference between a top, dental office or one that's not producing? And it's not necessarily the skill level of the dentist. Mm-mm. It's the relationships, right? It's their ability to connect with people.
Yeah, I think people understand what they're getting out of the service that they're investing in. Like with my dad, people come to my dad. He only works 2 days a week now, but those 2 days are full. But then the days the other doctors are there, you get the same service. I think it's the value you provide to somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. So you left college. It wasn't a direct path to real estate, though.
No, I kind of I was a really high profile athlete. So I was thinking about, I did the workouts. I had a couple offers to go play in Argentina, a little bit in Mexico. I was kind of thinking about what to do. You know, I always need some money in the meantime, so I just kind of got started. I always like to build, so I did a little bit of carpentry on some, flip properties and stuff like that. Just kind of working as like a freelance carpenter and doing that for the time being. And then I kind of got introduced to. My mom owns a real estate brokerage, and I kind of saw the benefit of sales. And I always enjoyed helping people and stuff, and engaging that way. So I saw how much kind of more you could make in real estate just selling it, and the time and craftsmanship I had to put into carpentry for the reward I got.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I had a conversation with Tanya Bambrook the other day, and Tanya is the #1 agent in Norco this year. And there's this, she's with our office, but she's a phenomenal agent. And it was a similar story. She sold the house, and she saw how much money that person made off of her, and she was like, dang, I'm getting my real estate license, right? There is such tremendous opportunity here. But when you were doing carpentry, what kind of work were you doing?
Well, my family does like we did a lot of flips. We did a lot of like investment, and I would get in and do a lot of the woodwork. We built like a custom wood kind of cabin concept in Grand Terrace, where I put like a big custom fireplace that was about 15 feet high with like special stonework and distressed wood and everything, and it turned out really cool. I kind of just was doing that, and then I'd work for some other people doing like little odd jobs and stuff. I think I was just kind of figuring out really what I wanted to do for that time, in that time, and seeing if I wanted to get back into basketball, or I was just kind of unsure a little bit. I think at that point.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the really cool things about real estate is there's nobody. It just seems like there are very few people who were born realtors, right? Everybody started someplace, and one of the interviews I did was with Tyler Hungerford, and he said this. It was a great statement, and it was, it's not about having all the experience; it's about bringing your experience. It's about bringing the experience you have, right?
Yeah.
And we got into this a little bit in the pre-show when we were having our conversation, but your background as a collegiate athlete has really affected the way you do business.
Yeah, I would say I think athletics teaches you something. It's more, you have to be dedicated to what you do to have success out there. You have to every day. There's times that you win games. There's times that you lose games, and then you always have to keep taking, building upon what you did good in the wins, and then also taking that process of kind of refining what you're doing in the losses that you experience, and then kind of using that to make yourself a better athlete or better player. So, I think taking that to like that aspect and approach to real estate, kind of helps.
So, let me ask you a question. You're a collegiate athlete at a very high level. My guess, but you're kind of a soft-spoken guy. And
I guess maybe in like this setting, but I guess when people see me in other settings, maybe I'm more aggressive.
My guess is that on the basketball court, you're fairly intimidating as an individual.
Yeah. I would,
okay. And so it seems like a theme that comes up over and over again amongst top producers is we're competitive. There's that desire to be the best and to win. And it's not that we want to beat other people, but we like winning. But does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
totally.
But no, I would agree.
Okay.
I think in anything what I do is I look at whatever I'm producing, whatever I'm doing, and I try to make sure that I always kind of, you're going to lose. I've lost listings. My first year, I probably lost 3 times more listings than I got. But I always keep looking at, did I give 100% of what I was capable of doing in that instance? And if I did that, I can learn from it. And the only time I really get like kind of like down or something is if like I look at like did I kind of just mess that one up because I didn't put effort in.
As we were talking before, you started sort of essentially telling me about your game tape. right? That when you go in and you go on an interview or you go to do a listing presentation, you do an after review. Tell me about that.
Well, yeah, I think anything. I guess I don't do it as much if I like get the listing.
Sure. Yeah.
But if I lose a listing or they choose a different agent or something just doesn't work out right, I look at it like, was there something I could have? Was there a value or was there a benefit I could have brought more? And one of the things I think that helped me when I first started, and it kind of threw people off, is after I didn't get the listing, I'd go back and knock on their door, and I'd ask them, I understand you went with the other agent, but I just, for my personal, to get better at what I'm doing, what did you kind of think my presentation lacked, and what did you think the other one had?
Wow. Okay, that's a scary question. It's one that not a lot of people would ask. What was the reaction on the part of those sellers when you came and you said that?
I think there's mixed things. It kind of cuts people off guard a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
Especially because you have a 6'8", 300-pound guy come to your front door. Why did you choose me? No, but
what did I do wrong?
Yeah, yeah. So
Totally.
no, I think some people were I think it was helpful in one because I went for a listing in Chino, and it was for $900,000, I believe, and I'm not a super technical realtor when I go. I don't come through with a million pieces of paper. I don't have every statistic.
Mm-hmm.
I keep my presentations very short, very to the point, very this is how I'm going to get it done. And the agent, the people said that the other agent had a bunch of net sheets, had a very detailed, their presentation wasn't necessarily as forward, but they had a lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are more analytical, and I think for those people, I'm a driven kind of person, so with those people, I think learning to, and I try to indoctrinate a little bit more information for people when I'm giving my stuff because of that. But they said they went with the other person because everything was clear. Everything was more clear to them as their finances, and they had a more detailed report than what I was doing. So, just things like that, I think.
Cool. But you had that hard conversation, and what it sounds like you just said is, so I took the note. I went and got details. I started bringing the paperwork, right?
Yeah.
And learned, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I love it because there's a fierce humility there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
To sit down with somebody who said, we don't want you. To say, okay, tell me what, and not to take it personally, not to go, I'll be honest, right? There are a lot of agents who they're going to lose a $900,000 listing, and then they're going to go kind of mope for a week.
Yeah.
You just went right back to that place of defeat and said, okay, how do I get better?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So I think, that's, I just try to learn, you in this business, I think you say a lot of people, they don't get the listing. I've had people, I had a solar guy that I'm doing 17 listings with a new tract development.
Okay.
And I gave a solar guy an opportunity, and I said, look, I need this in 3 or 4 days. Give me a bid back, and I'll give you all the projects. I'll give you 40 projects a year on solar. And he didn't hold up his end, and it took him a week and a half. He still didn't have a bid back to me, and I moved on to the next guy. And I said, this is what we needed. This is what we could have done. He says, I'm quitting solar, and I'm not going to do it anymore. And then I was like, I know a lot of agents. I have an agent in my office I just gave a buyer to, and the buyer didn't work out, and she wanted to, hang up, quit.
Right.
And my first year in real estate, I sold 4 houses.
Okay.
I worked 6 hours a day going around marketing. I sold 4 houses, and I probably blew 30, 40 listings.
Right.
So, I think, like we were saying earlier, where people are they want to get into real estate because they see the money.
Right.
They don't understand that the people who do that, it's hours. It's like basketball or football. It's hours and it's hours and it's hours of calls that you go through, and you learn techniques and things like that. And I think probably what happened, the best thing for me was I failed probably, for every one success I had, I probably had 15 failures.
Okay, now I want to just stop and underline something, because your first year was 3 years ago, right? You said how many did you say?
Well, I think I started selling in a June month,
right?
And by the end, I had 4 sales.
4 sales. Last year, 2021, you, by MLS data, it looks like you closed 51 units.
51 homes sold, and I represented, I think, 73 clients.
Yeah. So and that is such an important thing for people to hear, is that it didn't happen overnight. It was in fact, in the beginning, it was a lot of failure, right?
Oh, yeah.
But you, again, and this is that athletic background, kind of that knowledge of the only way you get better is hard work and incremental improvement over time. Massive. I don't think there's an agent out there who wouldn't want to do 51 units, right? Or represent 70 something. But how many people quit that first year and they just don't?
They say 70%.
Yeah, absolutely. But I wonder, like, it's, you have, as an athlete, you don't get to a collegiate level unless you show up for practice when you don't want to show up for practice. Yeah. Right. There's the, do you think that carries you through that?
I think it's just a mentality.
Okay.
You develop, from the time I was young, I played at a really high level, and it's just a mentality, and you lose a game and you gotta, it doesn't feel good, and you go through, and I remember when I was first year, my mom was trying to get me to sign up to be an eyeglass salesman or something that, Clint, you need to have a salary, you need to, but people, I don't think, it's real estate's a challenging business because you're never guaranteed.
Right.
You're never it's one of the only jobs, you go work at Walmart, you go work at, even with my dad with optometry and stuff like that, you don't hit home runs, but you walk away with a certain amount every year, and that, that's how much you're going to get. No matter if you do better or worse, it's pretty much what you're going to work, what you're going to walk out with. But that's one thing I liked about real estate, I think, is, with basketball is, you either win or you lose. Right. And you don't get rewarded for not succeeding.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. Close doesn't count.
No, not
right.
Yeah, it doesn't get it.
It's a good metric to say, or I'm getting better, or I lost that listing to that guy who's been in the market for so many years and we're this close. That's it's a good like, okay. But ultimately you don't get paid unless you win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One interesting story is my first year I was going around trying to market, and I had one sale in a really nice area of Grand Terrace called Honey Hills, and there was actually a Keller Williams agent. Her name was Crystal Roth, and she's one of the top producers in Redlands. And I 3 years ago, when the guy kind of gave me an opportunity, I messed up so bad on the presentation. I underbid his house by $200,000.
Okay.
And he called me the next day, and he told me it was, what the hell are you doing? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And I went to my broker, kind of got everything, and I went back that night.
Right.
Like I said, I went back. I said, this is okay. This is what I think it is. It's my first week in the business. He said, I'm not going to list with you now, but, I appreciate you coming back. I kept going and going and going. And then this last year, he interviewed Crystal Roth. And she turned down his listing because she thought it couldn't be done.
Right.
And then I said, I'll give it a try. And I always try like a challenge. And I actually, he gave me the listing, and then I worked hard, and I sold it in 22 days for $830,000, which was the highest sale in Grand Terrace that last year.
That's fantastic.
So it was like, it's just, I would say for new agents and stuff, I tell people all this time, take any opportunity that comes your way.
Right.
I just got put on a big project selling like a whole park full of mobile homes because I took 2 mobile homes that for help people that were $10,000, and one lady paid me in ammunition for guns.
Yeah.
Because she couldn't afford it. But the park manager was so impressed by that he said, you know what, I see how you're working, like, you know, and I right now I'm running 3 mobile home sales, and I got like a couple of single families listed, but I take a sale. I listed a $2.25 million property, and I also listed a $10,000 property. So I never push anything away. Right.
I want to back up to that one
you
just mentioned, the $800,000 home that you know, or whatever, the one in Grand Terrace. But I love it because it's your first week in the business. You took a swing and you whiffed. You know what I mean?
Bad.
But I know this. There's a lot of people who would have avoided that client like the plague after that because they would have been embarrassed, right? They would have been. But that wasn't what you did.
No.
You continually went back and went back and went back to ultimately have the highest selling listing in Grand Terrace that year, from what many people might have been a career defining failure in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know.
And he's also not only given me that. He's a contractor himself by trade, and he's working on about $6 million homes, and he's gonna give me all those too.
I love it. Yeah.
So I would say, you know, and it sounds weird because, you know, you don't want to. People can be type of way, especially if you don't do the job right. But
right. So if you're listening, you're watching that, and you're thinking to yourself, oh man, I screwed up so bad in the past. It's not too late, right? Go back, go have those conversations. You really want to. There's never a no that's the last no until you give up, right?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that story. So, all right, Clint, let me get back to my script on questions here.
Sure. Yeah.
So 51 units, massive success over the last, massive rise, I guess. What are you doing? What differentiates you? What makes you stand out in the marketplace?
I think just in general, I mean, what I do is I always try to put the client first. I never look at the money. I never do. I think agents, a lot of times people get in the business because they always, oh man, I'm going to make a lot of money. But I never look at the money. I always try to look at what the client needs. And then I think for me is, I know based upon the offices I've worked at, I outwork every agent that's there. There's not one agent. There's no agents in the office that outwork me.
No, okay. What does that mean? I outwork every agent. Tell me what does that look like?
I think with a lot of because I get so busy sometimes I don't have time necessarily to service all the clients, so I'll refer out leads to the other agents in my office, and they won't follow up with them. They won't do whatever. As soon as they don't call, I'll hop back on the call. I'll call off a meeting or something, and I'll go run over 2 hours to go show a client. I mean, during that stretch, I think one thing, I only closed about half of them, but I had 21 escrows running in 1 month.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah, that is an intense. I mean, it's funny because if you're not in the industry, you might go, oh, that's nice. But if you're selling 3 houses in 1 month, that can be overwhelming for some people. 21 escrows in one month. That's unbelievable.
So I was doing that, and I would get up, I get to work. As soon as I wake up, I get in the office, I start working, and by the time I was done writing offers, doing everything, I'd clock out, and I think it would be about 2:30 or 3 in the morning.
Wow.
And then I'd get to bed, I'd just crash out and wake up and do it.
Okay.
So
yeah, I'm going to say, just judging by what you said, you're out working the other agents in your office. I think that's probably true. So,
yeah.
So,
and I think that's maybe a stereotype of a lot of agents is they don't work hard, because you get the listing and then it's, oh, good, I got the listing. And then what is it? What do you do beyond that?
Right. Okay. So tell me what this is a conversation I've been having with agents inside and out. What are your daily habits? What are the routines? What are the things that you do every day? We talked about this, right? Success is the compounding of daily effort. So what are your daily routines? What are the things that you're doing every day that are generating that business?
I think it really depends.
Okay.
As I like a lot of people who produce a lot of listings, it's not just them. They have a team.
Okay.
I don't have a team. It's just me, and I have a TC.
Okay.
And so my daily things like depend. Sometimes I am, and I've been working to kind of get my business more like, more have other people there to help me. I'm really trying to get a buyer's agent that's committed to help me work that way. But it really depends, because sometimes I'm writing listings. I'm showing buyers. I try to prospect. Usually I have so many leads that I don't, the prospecting is not a big thing for me, but I know for a lot of agents, in the beginning, what I would say is take that time. If the leads are hard to get for you, when I first started out, I took 6 hours a day and I just lead generated. I'd find a way, and you can do it by, I like in person more, just because I feel like in person I connect better with people. I do on the phones too. There's no problem with on the phones, but whether it's calling, just listed, just sold, cold calling an area, door knocking. I like to do that a bit. Liking a lot of people forget about past client.
Right.
And past client, I do that a lot right now, especially because I'm busy and I'm going. I forget about past client, and past client is as I follow up with them, that's a big part of the business.
Okay, so that first year when there was no business, you said 6 hours a day of lead generation.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah.
What sustained you? I mean, because I go back to, there's a lot of people who need to be doing 6 hours a day of lead generation who just aren't going to do it. What was the mindset? What sustained you? How did you get through that?
Well, I think one of the biggest things was I didn't have a lot of money.
Okay.
And wanted to be successful. And unless you're playing in the pros, unless you're playing big time basketball and signing those $1 million contracts, I played basketball and I was an athlete. And I had a little money, but I didn't have much. And I think for me it was more like, I got to get this done because I got to have something with me. I got to make a way. Yeah. So it wasn't an option. I think when you kind of get that mentality of this is what I'm doing, and I want to succeed because I want to be successful, and if I don't succeed, then I'm just not going to be successful. That was kind of my mentality, and if you adopt that, I think there's not much that can hold you back.
Cool. All right. So right now, I could speak about what I see challenges are in the industry, but I'd love to get your take, because you're doing business at a volume that most people will only dream about. So you're encountering a lot of buyers, you're encountering a lot of sellers. So what are the challenges right now in the industry?
I think in the industry, I know the market's really high right now. So it's one of the tough things is, and for a lot of agents, is just there's not a lot of listings, so competing for those. And then competing with those and being able to present a value within yourself to get a reasonable commission. I remember I was a little upset my very first year, because I lost this one listing to this company called Home something, and they offered a $2,500 flat fee. And they chose them over me, but because I didn't at that point know how to create value of myself to, help someone understand the value of paying me a good commission in contrast to paying some other guy a 0.5% commission or something like that. And so I think, our industry is a little bit under attack by people like Zillow and these online people who, I've had Redfin agents show my listing, and Redfin's taking a huge percentage of their cut and actually paying them like $200 to show my listing.
Right.
So I think one of the biggest obstacles now is actually our compensation in the future of our industry, like being able to do what we do as individuals instead of corporate whole thing.
Yeah, I would agree. You look nationally, there's a lot of people looking at the real estate industry and saying, we want a piece of that. Right? And who's fighting to keep realtors at the center of the transaction, and that's something that I think, yes, we as an industry have got to get our hands around, because you're right. There's a lot of tech that's coming in. There's a lot of people are coming in, and you hear this a lot. They're trying to figure out how can we bring it all under one roof, whether that's the mortgage, the title, all of these things. And the realtor, here we are, we're independent operators.
Yeah.
And we have to have our eye on that ball, because it's a challenge in the future.
I think the problem is a lot of people don't see the benefit of what you get when you get a realtor. This isn't a process necessarily that you can automate. Right. You can automate car sales. You can automate anything that comes from a manufacturer, but you can't automate. There's no Suzuki house. There's no Honda house or Toyota house. There's this guy's house, and it's, I think the thing about what we do is the selling of a home is a very personal thing. You're dealing with someone's, the safe place they go at the end of the day. It's you can't get away with automating that something that's so personal to people.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen it. Some of and I'm not going to name names, but there's been some big tech companies who thought they could go on and use their valuation tools to buy houses, and they lost a ton of money.
And it makes it hard, I think, it gives people an unrealistic expectation.
Oh, yeah.
Mortgage calculators that give them $1,000 a month payment, and then I got to come in and tell them it's $17 to $2,000, and they think their house is worth this because it's off an algorithm, and it really causes more harm, I believe, than actual solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, Clint. Well, you were on a meteoric rise. We went from, like I said, I think you said 4 in the first year to 51 in year 3. What's next, man? What's the goal? Where are you moving to?
Well, as I've kind of done a little bit for myself, I'm hoping to hit higher this year in real estate. I think the connections I've made and the things I've done, though January hasn't been exactly, I think I only got like 5 or 6 in January.
I want to stop, because that's awesome. He's like, it's been a rough month. I only did 5 or 6, and there's like the majority of the marketplace is like, what? Like 5 or 6? They would kill for that, man. But I think, but that's a down month for you. I love that. I mean, it's mindset, man. I actually got a listing presentation in my car. I went door knocking this morning. I got two listing presentations from that. I love it.
For me, I think it's like anything. It's the standard you set for yourself. If you set a standard for yourself that you're gonna be 5, that 5's really good for me in a year, then 5's gonna be really good for you. I just recall, like, going back to basketball, if a lot of kids are like, oh my gosh, I can dunk a ball, for me it was like, okay, I dunk it now, how do I incorporate this? I go baseline 360, or do I tip jam, or how do I I always want to push myself, and I think once you set those goals for yourself and you understand the potential of what you can do, then I look at it like I'm cheating myself. If you set that goal low and you're like, oh, I'll be okay if I just get 5 deals, then you cheat yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Clint, it's been fantastic to have you in here. I mean, I feel like there's a lot more we could talk about, but dude, when you do the volume that you do, I know you're a busy man, and I cannot take that much of your time, but I would love to continue the conversation again sometime. So
for sure.
Well, hey, thanks for joining us. I really hope that you got something out of this. Clint Bozner, just an incredible success story. I have no doubt that we're going to see Clint in a year, and it will be more than that, because that workman attitude of, listen, you get in, you do the work. If you don't think, you do 6 hours. And incremental improvement over time has massive results. So I hope you take that away, and we'll catch you guys next time.